Hi guys and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to talk about obviously as you just read in obviously my title of this video. I'm going to just show you my opinions about 2014. It was maybe a very important year for Ubisoft that for me changed everything. And why am I saying this obviously right now? And this is kind of maybe a little bit easy, but I think that the cause of this changing about obviously Assassin's Creed is the fact that obviously not only Assassin's Creed is the fact that, for example, 2014 didn't make as they wanted to just do. And this is kind of the real problem because we know, for example, that in 2014 Ubisoft released Assassin's Creed Unity, Assassin's Creed obviously Rogue, Watch Dogs, the first one with Aiden Pierce, and then obviously Far Cry 4. With these four obviously titles, I think that we got someone that was kinda obviously stronger and the other ones that were not as strong as obviously the first ones. So as you have just probably seen in my cover of this video, I think that obviously Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed Unity wasn't the best of all of them. And why do I say this? It's the problem that you just, for example, just take Rogue, you're just going to see, for example, a better protagonist that is Shay Cormac, or for example, even a much better writing in the story, even if it's really, really short. I think that if they could have just have more time, they could have just created just a really much better game, and that's kind of the same cases with obviously Unity. But the problem with Unity wasn't obviously the story. I mean, it was one of the problems, but it wasn't obviously the only one. You're going to just obviously see my whole opinion about this game in the video that I made for all of this down below, obviously, and obviously right here. But the real problem that I just put obviously this game in the last place of my list is the fact that this game was actually really hyped, but the results were really really easy and just maybe not as much good as they thought. And that's their whole thing. I mean, right now I'm just playing obviously the DLC, and I'm not thinking about that this DLC was actually good. I mean, yeah, it's something that is different from obviously the other ones that I played, for example, with Valhalla and Origins. But I still think that is kind of one of the worst one, for example, in general. But I think that, for example, the world around the design is kind of really good, and that's the whole thing because Ubisoft in that year couldn't just create something that was good in every part. If you just obviously take out, for example, Far Cry 4, that even if for me is kind of the second place obviously in my list, I think that this was kind of really important one and obviously good one. So with this said, we can just move on to the other place, the third one, and then you're going to just see obviously Assassin's Creed Rogue. That, as I said before, the real problem about this game is the short story, and I think that this is kind of also the fact that we're going to just see, for example, Shay in many times of his obviously life, but you're going to just see is really changing in out of moments. You're going to see him, for example, in a few moments, and only there is going to just change in reality. And I think that I would have just love to see how it really changes in obviously a Templar. For example, in how they did, for example, in Marvel Spider-Man 2, with obviously all of the facts, for example, the that Peter does when he got the symbiote and all of these things. So I still think that, for example, the story, even if I know that, for example, the combat and other things weren't as good as, for example, Unity or even other games, I still think that this kind of really better, even if a lot of people are going to just hate me because I said this. But I think that Rogue is actually better than obviously, as I said before, Unity, because of his obviously interactions and his world in general. Because even if it's really repetitive, you just if you just have played obviously Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag, we're going to just have a really important game as it is full of lore. And that's, for example, the fact that Unity doesn't have a lot of lore. I mean, yeah, it's interesting, but I think that's not that interesting if you're not going to just play every single bit of the game. And I don't know if I'm going to just do it because I'm just feeling tired of playing this type of games. Not I'm not saying that I hate Ubisoft or I hate just playing Assassin's Creed in general, but I think that the problem with this is the fact that Unity is really kind of repetitive in its own good. I mean, the missions are really cool, but sometimes it's too baggy. And that's the only fact that I just want to say about, for example, this type of games. Now we can actually move on and just talk about obviously the second game that I just put in my list, and that's Far Cry 4. I mean, guys, I didn't even play any type of Far Cry game, but I only played a few hours in Far Cry Primal, and I think that this was a kind of interesting game. But I still think that, for example, as I saw about obviously Far Cry 4, this is kind of one of the best one because after this we're going to just see a lot of games, a lot of obviously Far Cry games that just started from that base and just create order from that. And that's the fact because I think that this was kind of one of the best ones, if not the best, with obviously the third one and maybe Far Cry 5. But I think that whole concept and whole the world, everything that just were obviously around that period with Ubisoft was really interesting because in that period they wanted to just show how they can actually handle and just do anything. And this is kind of something that they just don't do actually right now. And this is only because they are scared to just not being a lot of mm, profit of their game. And even if I know that maybe the same fact that they just did 10 years ago were the same, I still think that they were kind of they're just trying to just explore more new things, and that is kind of the same thing that they just, for example, did uh, with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. But the fact was that Origins was the new thing, was the kind of all of these things that happened and they were new. So they wanted to just try new things to just save Assassin's Creed as a brand. So this is kind of the fact that I want to just say because a lot of people maybe didn't understand this. So Far Cry 4 obviously was a good game, and I think that it can maybe just be the first one if you just like a lot of this type of games, so Far Cry games. But I just loved more, for example, Watch Dogs. And we're going to just obviously see if in my all of series and all gameplay. Obviously I'll just leave anything obviously here and down below and obviously up here, so we're going to just see anything that I just did in these games. But I think that the only problem of this game was the expectation, because if you just play today we're going to just see a really important game and obviously a full game of a lot of things element and all of these facts that you're going to just see and just maybe appreciate and obviously like. And that's the fact that I just want to just show you and understand, because in 2014 Ubisoft wanted to just try a lot of streets, for example, we can actually say this, and they maybe in not at all, but they did it. So I think that they were there, they were at their top. So guys, with this said, this video comes to an end. Please subscribe if you want to just help my channel to just grow. And obviously guys, we're going to just see us in the next video. So that's kind of all for today. Bye guys.